Hi, Justin. Welcome to Kaapstad Radio.
Hi, Deon. Thank you very much for the opportunity to chat to you and your listeners. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you very much. I just want to give you some feedback, and the rest I'm going to leave over to Justin to tell us himself. Okay, Justin is with a wealth of experience as a senior finance professional and business builder, working for both startup and large listed organizations in the UK, Australia, and South Africa. Justin offers you the opportunity to benefit from his treasured trove, and that's the most important part for the whole night, of easy-to-use finance tricks to easily unlock cash hidden in your business. He grew up in Durban, moved to Cape Town, and started studies at University of Cape Town, where he finished his bachelor's degrees and his honours degree as well. And then he completed his articles as a chartered and qualified as a chartered accountant in 1999. He said, yes, I'm right with that one. Justin, could you just fill us in with the skills and your work experience? And then I also want to think about your awards and partnerships that you've done in your career so far.
All right, great. Thank you, Deon. So after I completed articles at Baker Tilly Greenwoods, I, like most fellow chartered accountants, wanted to go and experience a bit of the world and decided to go and live in London. Worked in London and managed to work for some of the biggest investment banks in the world, such as Barclays Global, as well as co-funds. While I was there, I was responsible for a lot of the back office compliance procedures, as well as redesigning systems for them to ensure that a lot of things happened faster and we could make sure we got people's investment money in the right place at the right time. That worked really well. I was asked to stay on there and ended up staying on for an extra year and a half after the usual 2-year working holiday and traveled through Europe. It was an amazing experience.
You also get your qualification, your chartered accountant qualification in 2004.
Yes, so essentially to get a chartered accounting qualification, you've got to do a Bachelor's of Commerce, an honours degree, and then 3 years of articles, as well as write the board exams and pass those. Back in my day, there was only one option, which was the auditing style option. So we learned all the detailed tricks on how to audit correctly and make sure the books were accurate and that type of thing. And while I was in the UK, I realized that part of the additional finance skill I'd like to learn was how to understand manufacturing and to cost complex processes. So how to understand which parts of your business or processes and activities in your business cost what. So you can therefore look at the total cost to serve a customer and then look at detailed calculations of profits for different activities, businesses or services. So you can make sure as a business owner you're focusing in the right place, and also not, unfortunately, many business owners overlook this and end up supplying their customers making a loss because they don't really realize all of the intricacies involved for them and their staff to fulfill that particular order. So yeah, trying to understand how to quantify that type of thing is really helpful.
And then you also work at Transnet back in Cape Town.
Yes, so I decided I loved Cape Town too much and my heart missed it and my family and friends. So I came back to Cape Town, and I also wanted to get more general financial management experience. So to look throughout the organization from a senior management perspective, work alongside the CEO, understand things like risk, financial processes, financial reporting, and cash management. So got a lot of experience there. I worked at Transnet Port Terminals, the multi-purpose terminal in Cape Town. It's a very interesting place to work. There's a lot of different products and processes that happen there, from moving grain to moving pallets to moving containers. So also they came very handy of how to understand different costs and different standard operating procedures so that we could price correctly. And then I was actually awarded out of 15 other finance managers at Transnet Port Terminals for the best cost saving out of everybody and best business performance. And thereafter I was promoted to manage both the multipurpose terminal and the Cape Town container terminal as finance manager. And that those entities brought in over R1 billion at that point.
Sure.
So it was quite a large organization and a lot of fun. Transnet was really good. They used a lot of best practice. So from them I also learned from the best, and it was a really enriching experience.
Then you also receive a prize by the board from a chairman in Australia, I think.
Yes, I managed to get work there working for the New South Wales Business Chamber, which was an organization that had 5 different organizations under it. While I was there, we looked at rolling out a brand new budgeting system. And after speaking to a lot of the senior management and understanding some of their pain points, redesigned how the budget process worked, making it very simple, very easy to understand, and cost their budgets and their activities. And then the year thereafter, as they're looking at performance against budget, because the budget was so granular and there was a detailed understanding of the activities underlying the budget, it was very easy for them to track how they're doing against budget and any causes for any overruns or underruns. So it made controlling their different divisions much easier.
I'm going to mention it. He's not going to mention it, so I'm going to trick him now to answer this question. Tell us about your partnership with Uber.
Well, that was very interesting. So some co-founders and I decided to start a new company, which essentially was to inspire and entertain Uber passengers in the back of their Ubers. So we usually take an Uber trip for around 20 minutes. And we noticed that most of us are pretty bored. We're stuck on our cell phone or chatting to the driver. And it would be great to be able to understand what options are available to you from an entertainment or inspirational perspective, whether you want to go and see different shows from a theater perspective.
Restaurants.
Yeah, restaurants, bars, clubs, and sporting activities near you. So we also had fun things like we had celebrities coming on and talking about their neighborhoods and which are their favorite restaurants to go and have breakfast or lunch or sundowners at. So it was really nice for people in the back of the Uber to learn a lot more about different neighborhoods and fun and places to go, things to see and do.
And I believe that also was an article in 2017, and the Fast Company as one of South Africa's most creative people in business.
Yes, so
write up about that. I've read it this afternoon. It's very impressive.
Thank you very much, Deon. It's very kind of you.
And I think, wow, someone was making a difference somewhere in life, and you make a change to the better.
Thank you, yes.
For the rest of the world. With me in the studio is Justin, and we're going to start talking about his little secret that he wanted to tell us tonight. He's hopping up and down on his chair. He's so excited to tell us about his story. But I first want to know, Justin, what are your biggest financial lessons you learned in your career?
Okay, Deon, that's an interesting question. I suppose there would be a few of them. The first one that comes to mind is how small changes can have dramatic results. So making little changes in different areas of your business can totally transform the performance from a business perspective and a cash perspective and a profits perspective. So it's wonderful to implement those secrets and see the transformation and also the happiness that that brings and the less stress that that brings to the owner and the team. The most important one that I've learned of all is cash is king. Without cash, we all have problems.
Stranded, yeah.
And that's mainly the reason I decided to give this course, is that I realized that there's a number of things you can do in your business and ways you can play, essentially, to make cash appear that you didn't realize was actually there. And I've implemented some of these tricks in some of my own companies and some of the companies I've worked for, and it's had some pretty amazing results and, yeah, won me a few awards in the past. So focusing on cash or understanding the levers to pull that can influence the amount of cash that you have in your business's bank account is a very powerful secret to learn.
So you're going to teach us how to get more cash back in your bank account?
Yes. I've put together a 10-week masterclass. Basically, it's aimed at CEOs of medium-sized businesses, so anywhere from about 2 or 3 million rand in sales a year going up to very large businesses. So it's for the CEOs and the CFOs to learn how or which levers to pull to unlock cash. So essentially how it works, it's a 10-week masterclass. Each masterclass is an hour lecture where we focus on a specific area of your business, such as how to get cash from your customers faster. And then through that hour, we'll go through the tips and secrets and negotiating tricks you need to learn in order to make that happen in your business. Then there's a 30-minute session thereafter that any attendees can ask any questions, and you can learn from the questions asked from your fellow attendees. And then also I realized being a CEO is quite a lonely place, and there's a lot of CEOs who would love to make some friends, especially with people who are facing the same issues that they are, and possibly even to do some good business deals. So we've added 30 minutes of networking onto the end, which is optional for those who would like to make some new friends and be part of the tribe.
Sure. That's quite impressive. Before we start with the course, I just want to know first, what's the biggest risk business owners normally ignore?
I suppose the one that comes to mind at the moment, seeing as everyone's talking about the recession that's busy happening under our noses, is everyone seems to be a little bit too trusting when businesses lend money to businesses. So if you think about when you go to a financial institution, Deon, do they just give you money freely?
No, you had to go through a whole process in an exercise, and you must bring your own calculator with.
Exactly. So they basically make sure that you're credit worthy by doing a lot of assessments on you. And a lot of business owners have the exact tools to use, and they can ask for information from their customers to get that peace of mind to ensure that they're actually safe, giving their customers some terms so they can have some terms paying back. But essentially giving any of your customers terms is a huge risk for businesses. And at this point, because of the recession, many businesses are facing cash crunches. When businesses face a cash crunch, they usually end up not being able to pay you. And that causes huge problems in your own cash flow. So understanding who you will essentially lend money to can often come back and seriously bite, and often kills many businesses, sadly, when this happens. So some of the biggest advice for now, I would ask business owners to consider their credit terms. So how long they're giving or letting people borrow from them for, because there's also ways to change those terms. And by changing those terms, you can make money appear in your account faster. And in the course, we discuss all the tips and tricks on how to do that. There's also ways to negotiate so that you can get the information that you require in order to assess the credit worthiness. So asking for things like their audited financial statements. And then from those financial statements, I can show you a few little easy ratios to look at just to give you a peace of mind that this business is actually a safe bet to lend money to. Or I would also suggest that business owners share the risk. So in other words, when you receive an order, you ask those customers of yours to place a kind of deposit down on those goods or services that you're about to perform. So at least you're not taking 100% of the risk in that case.
That sounds wonderful. Just tell us, could any business enroll for this? Is it just certain companies that could do it?
So I mentioned earlier that it would suit businesses with a turnover of 2 to 3 million and up, which is a sales number of over about 150,000 Rand a month. But all of the principles that we go through in this course apply to all and every business.
Doesn't matter 2 million or less.
Yes, yes. So if you're a smaller business, these lessons will definitely help you improve your business and also take away risks and grow into a bigger business faster.
Wonderful. That's good news. So everyone must keep on listening. All of us could basically learn something tonight, and we could all grow our businesses. My next question I want to ask you is, why are we doing this? Make money?
To help people. I really enjoyed making a difference to people's lives. I believe we should have a purpose in life, and life should be about service. So how are you adding value to your community? And after all of my experiences, which have been pretty amazing and some wild rides, both working for corporates and growing startups, partnering with Uber, etc., I've learned a lot of tricks along the way and also made a lot of mistakes and had to run to some of my investors and friends for mentorship, as well as reading many business books and continually learning to try and understand how I can be better and perform better. And now I realize that a lot of these tricks are really helpful and can help a lot more people other than me. So there's a huge amount of value to be had. And yeah, this is my opportunity to give back and help business owners.
Yes, we all want to give back something, and I think you've got a bigger heart than me. You're giving more back at this stage than what I'm giving, because everyone could win with this. What I've read basically in my research for tonight's interview, everyone could win actually. Even a small business on a platteland somewhere in the countryside, they could also benefit from this.
Yes, definitely.
And we've talked earlier about these 10 steps of 10 weeks of training. Could you just tell us the focus areas of each training session and what the people could expect from the training sessions going forward?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. So there's a 10-week masterclass. The first week will be focusing on how to get free money from your suppliers. So during that session, what we'd suggest as a starting point is to look at your spend over the last year, if not possible over the last 3 months, and then just sort your spend by each supplier so you understand how much you're spending with each supplier. With that little trick, you'll be able to focus on where you're spending the most money, and there'll probably be only 4 or 5 of them that warrant your attention. And in that course, we'll teach you the secrets and the tricks to use in order to get free money from your suppliers. So free money from your suppliers essentially is, there's 2 ways of doing that. You can either get a price reduction, so you negotiate with your suppliers, or you get together with other businesses and get bulk discounts so you get a better price, or an even better way is to get better terms. So if you get better terms, if you think about it, you were supposed to pay every 30 days from the supplier. So let's say right now we're in November. At the end of November would be our next payment due, so we're saving that cash in the bank. And if we change our terms from 30 days to 60 days, which is possible to do with the right negotiations, this payment that we were supposed to make at the end of November doesn't need to be made. In fact, the next payment due is only at the end of December because you've now changed the terms and every payment moves up a month. Because you've now created this essentially payment-free month for November, that cash you would have paid at the end of November now stays in your bank account and you can then use it however you like. So one simple change like that can make a dramatic impact. There is a trick about how to talk to your suppliers, not to upset them, and to make it in their interest to give you these types of terms. And in this course, we'll help you understand what to look for and how to approach using procurement best practice. So what are the different elements you should be looking at when you're asking for a price, not just the price, quality, lead time, stock in hand, all other little metrics we can help you look into to ensure that your business is in a good place. You're also not waiting for parts from a supplier, so that then puts a halt on your business and you've got a whole lot of people waiting, which costs you money. So things like that and what to look out for and how to think about these supplier relationships you'll be learning about in week 1.
Okay, and then week 2, what are you study from there going forward?
Okay, so week 2, we've split up because it's quite complicated. So the 2 issues I was just chatting about, which is how to pay less for the particular goods or services you're getting, and then how to get free money from your suppliers. We split those into the first 2 weeks. So they're quite complicated when you go into the detail to ensure those happen. But during the first 2 weeks, you'll learn basically to change the payment terms so you get that free cash, and also what to look at on how to get a better price for the stuff you're paying for. So you either get cash up front or a better price, which if you think about getting a price of 5% saving over the next 2 years, when you look at that, quickly adds up to a lot of money extra in your pocket.
And if you want to get cash from your customers faster, that is the next course, eh?
Yes, so that's week 3. So the first 2, we're focusing on our suppliers, then we move into our customers. So as we mentioned earlier, a lot of businesses are giving credit. So the first element is assessing the credit worthiness and how to do that politely without upsetting any of your customers. And we'll teach you how to do that, as well as what tricks you can use to try to entice your customers in order to pay you earlier. So instead of waiting for that cash suddenly appears in the bank, which makes a big difference to your stress levels.
Now in week 4, basically, you've mentioned what I've seen on your website, how to cut unnecessary expenses.
Yes. So when we do budgeting, there's an approach called a base plus 10%, which most people just, the easy way to budget is what's current year's budget cost, add inflation, and that's your next year's cost. You don't actually question yourself or your team, is this expense still really necessary in my business? Yes, it's been there, but is it necessary and is it adding value to my team or my customers? And from that, we understand and look at every single expense and understand if it's necessary. Now, as a business owner, the best thing to do is to look at which expenses to focus on again. And there you look at focusing on the biggest ones first, because you can make the biggest difference with your time. And then here we include your team. So how do you get your team to help you and work with you to find a smarter, better, quicker way to do particular things, and therefore cut these unnecessary expenses in your business, which you can do pretty quickly.
That sounds very interesting. And I also look at week 5, what we say is the bottlenecks that you had to look at and address those ones. Could we just discuss that before we take another break for music and a few ads quickly?
Yeah, sure. So one of the hidden expenses in a business is actually bottlenecks, which is, if you think about a relay team, the whole relay team is only as fast as the slowest runner. So the whole team is dependent on the slowest process that happens in this product or service. So understanding where the slowest process is and the number of people involved in it. So probably the best way to do it is to give you guys an example. So when I was working at the ports, there was a time where we had to move some containers off a ship. So when you have to move containers off a ship, you need various pieces of equipment, heavy machinery, as well as people who have the skills to use those machines, such as big, heavy cranes. We've got things like straddle carriers, forklifts, and trucks. So that if you think about it, the crane picks up the container, moves it down onto the port, then another heavy vehicle lifts it up and puts it onto a truck, and from the truck it goes into what's called the stack, which is basically where it's stored and waits to get picked up. Now, if you think about that process, there's a huge number of very expensive machines and skilled individuals involved in this process. So if there's certain things that are suddenly stopping, let's say the container moving off the vessel, that support team, which costs you a huge amount of money per hour, is sitting there and waiting. So you're essentially just running up cost based on one little bottleneck that's happening. So in this particular week, we try to look at your processes, and we give you the questions to ask yourself and your team to understand where these bottlenecks are, and to then relieve this cost build-up and cost waste that's happening with each of these.
That's quite interesting, because I think a lot of people, a lot of businesses, it doesn't matter small or big, do have these bottlenecks. And we actually just look at it and say, that's normal.
Yeah, so
it's
probably
something that's happening.
the biggest example I can see on the smaller business side is more the construction side, so electrical guys, plumbing guys. They have a team on site, and then what will usually happen, Deon?
They sit.
Yes, because they forgot a part, or they bought the wrong part, or they missed an ingredient that they needed to complete the job, which happens often. So then one member of the team has to rush off to the hardware store or relevant store and get that part, and that whole team of yours is sitting there waiting, costing you money. So essentially looking at little things like that of how you can plan a bit better, or ask your team, so that things like these bottlenecks or time wasters can be eliminated.
Now we're going to do, in week 6, we're going to look at basically how to turn old stock into cash.
Yes. So a lot of us have got stock which we purchased with great intentions of selling to customers, and unfortunately that doesn't happen for a number of reasons, and it's left sitting at the back somewhere in a cupboard. And essentially what we don't realize, or most of us forget, is that that stock essentially is sitting as cash. It's also taking up space, which means it costs rent, and we also have to insure against the loss, which takes insurance. So there's a lot of extra cost to carrying old stock. Now, there's ways to get rid of it from a discount perspective, but I know a lot of us don't like discounts. I find the best way is to add more value to your clients. So how can you bundle some of that stock together with an existing products that people like, so it's a great add-on or upsell, so you can either sell it then as a discount or offer it as a free add-on, so it entices people to take one of your other stock items that has a much bigger profit margin. So in that way, you're using the stock as a sales tool. The other way of doing it is to, instead of just letting it go or throwing it away or even selling it at a discount, is to look at how you can also do good things with that, which will help with your business's publicity and the good that it's doing for the community. So things like donating it to the school for the fete to raise funds, or as a sponsorship gift for the church or a sports club that you're interested in supporting. All these are wonderful things to do, which actually come back and really help your business. So you're now turning that old stock that wasn't doing anything for you into some really beneficial assets or intentions.
And then you also look at productivity.
Yes.
That's a big one, I think.
Yes. So we mentioned bottlenecks earlier. So that also talks to a very similar concept. But from a productivity perspective, now we're talking about how do you get the most out of each individual member of your team, which is a very difficult thing to do. So in this particular course, we look at different ways of how you can motivate your team to get the best out of them. And one of the things we found that works really well is to actually gamify your operations. So we all love winning a game. So how do you split up your staff into different teams and then publish their metrics so they can all look on a public board how they're all doing and compete against each other, and maybe even have a celebratory party for the winners or some prizes for the winners. So it makes it a lot of fun. And therefore, because your employees are all competing with each other, that in turn improves their own performance. So your business improves and they all have fun doing it too.
So it's actually a team building exercise as well.
Yes.
Combined with making money.
Yes.
Then after that, we're going to poor risk management.
Okay, so often what happens, we get so busy running our businesses that we forget to take a step back and have a look and see what are the things that could cause some real problems. In fact, sometimes they even kill our businesses. So sometimes it's things like 80% of our income comes from one client. And if that client decides to change, suddenly our business evaporates. So to understand that that's a real risk and that you need to work as a business owner or senior manager to try and change that in the near term, so that if or when that happens in the future, hopefully it never does, but we all know things change. So if that does happen, you're not hit with such a big shock and your business can survive. So looking at other risks, which is things like reputation risk. Are you and your employees doing the right things, behaving in the right ways, so that if, for example, you're on the radio one day what kind of damage or positivity will this end up doing for your business? So risks from that aspect. From a legal aspect, we all know that SARS is getting a lot stricter nowadays and looking at all of us a lot closer. So are we making sure we're not going to get an issue there which could come out of the blue and cause real problems? So essentially the risk management part is stepping back, looking at your business from a slightly higher level to ensure that you can sleep at night and there's not going to be some surprise you didn't think about popping up that causes real problems.
And how do you measure your business? Or do measurements in your business to see your progress and so forth?
Yes, so there's an old management paradigm thought which says you can't manage what you don't measure, which is actually quite true. So how do you then manage something if you don't have any metric to measure it with? How do you know if you've done well or badly? You kind of need some kind of measure. And then the second thing is which measure in your business. I mean, as business owners, there are so many different things we can measure. Which are the most important metrics for us that impact both revenue and customers? So those are the two things to think about when you look at which metrics are important to you. So from order to delivery times, how long does it take? And is there any way of improving that process and thereby improving customer service?
And then the final week, I think is the most important one from all of us, is how do you, the real cost of your business activities?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, when I was in London, I did a Chartered Institute of Management accounting degree, which essentially focuses very much more on what's called activity-based costing. So that looks at the activities of your business and then shows you how to cost those activities, and therefore you can get a better understanding of the real cost of those business activities of yours. So in this course, we teach you how to calculate very easily the different activities so that you can get a better understanding of what your cost to service or cost to produce a product is. So then decide on whether your prices are correct or you're actually making losses on this particular one and either need to cut that product or service or change the way you charge for it.
That's quite interesting.
And I find, sorry to interrupt, Deon, one of the things is when you have to go to, let's say, a prospective customer who's already paying for the service and happily paying the price you're currently offering, and then you suddenly realize, hang on, this is not in your interest to carry on doing this. By doing this activity-based costing, you then have something concrete to show your customer to help them understand, too, exactly the different costs involved in serving them, and they're much more likely then to accept your price increase and continue doing business with you because you've made it so clear and easy to understand.
That makes sense. That really makes sense. Justin, let's just go back and just say to the people out there, what value could I expect from this program? Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Deon. That's a good question. It's a question a lot of people ask. So because of that, we've actually designed a calculator. So if you can go to our website, which is findhiddencash.co.za, and on there you'll find a cash calculator. So you can see an example of a small-ish, medium-sized business with some of the financial numbers put in and the small tweaks you can make to the different areas of your business that we discussed earlier as shown in the model. And then that pops out the kind of cash you can expect to find very quickly that's currently hidden in your business. So we've also made this little calculator downloadable, so you can easily just give us your email address and we'll send it to you. And you can download it, plug into the blue cells, the metrics that apply or the numbers that apply to your business, and it'll show you how much cash is sitting there waiting for you to find. But it's quite astounding how much is actually sitting there usually.
But I actually want to encourage the people to go and download that calculator and see what difference it could make in your business. And yes. I think that calculations is going to guide you to see your problem areas as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, so it will also show you things like how many days are you allowing of sales into your debtors or people that owe you money. So your customers that owe you money, by looking at this number of days, because usually we'll give 30-day terms as the standard business practice. So you would hope your customers pay you in 30 days. But this will show you how many days your customers are actually paying you in and whether you're within the 30 or not and whether you need to look into this. So if your number is way under 30, then there's other issues we need to look at, such as are your customers paying deposits on their orders just to make sure that you don't get left high and dry. But this cash calculator will really help you understand how much money is sitting in your business that you can tweak a few things and find.
Wonderful. And then with this course, is there any guarantees that you offer from your side for any business? Yes,
so we offer every single business a full money-back guarantee. So the course is 10 weeks long. So the full money-back guarantee lasts for the first 30 days. So you can come and attend the courses for the first 30 days. If for any reason you find that these courses are not providing enough value for you and your business, you're welcome to let us know. We will give you a full refund, no questions asked. So if you choose to do that, you can't complete the course, and we'll also offer a certificate for you if you complete the course. But at this point, you don't get to complete the course. But we're so confident that within the first 30 days, you'll find more cash than this course costs you, that you'll be very pleased and you'll continue.
So that's actually a win-win scenario.
Yeah, so basically you can't lose.
Yeah. That's my exact words of thoughts, basically. From my side, Justin, thank you very much for visiting Kaapstad Radio tonight. It was an honor to have you here. Safe trip back home, and I hope everything is going to work out for everyone that was listening tonight to our program.
Thank you very much, Deon. It was an honor to be here, and thank you so much for this opportunity, and to your listeners for their time, and hopefully these tips can help them. And all the best.
Thank you very much.